and welcome to another booktube video from me, Martha May Books, and today I have for you my April TBR. I read 2 books in March because I started a new job and I've been very busy with that and haven't had enough energy to read when I get home. So this stack of books is ridiculous for the fact that I only read 2 books last month. The first book that I want to read in April, I have already read in March. I literally just read it, but I want to reread it, and that is Skintaker by Michelle Paver. I got an ARC copy of this book from NetGalley. I read it in March because I was very, very excited and also wanted to get my review out in time for the release. However, I have decided I do want to reread this. It's got lovely illustrations. Some things might have changed. I don't know. The potential is that I might also reread Viper's Daughter, because when I was reading the arc of this one, I got all of the references to the original series of Chronicles of Ancient Darkness because I've read them all so many times, but I didn't get so many of the references to this book because I've only read this one once. So I might read these two together as a pair. Who knows? Not me. Skintaker is the 8th book in the Chronicles of Ancient Darkness. It is the 2nd book in the Resurrection trilogy, that's what I'm going to call it, and it follows Torak, Brown and Wolf and their whole little pack battling with the greatest threat to life as they know it they ever have dealt with. The forest is thrown into chaos and turmoil, massive destruction, evil forces. I really enjoyed it. I'm excited to reread it. I don't want to tell you guys too much of what it's about because if you've not read the other books leading up to it, then can we just talk about this cover, please? Love this cover. If you've read the story, you'll know all of the significance of all of these wonderful things on the cover. I'm so excited for it. Then I have 2 books that I really do want to read in April. Have I been saying March? I mean April. The first one of these is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I believe that this is a horror. This is my final book. It was my pick for March from Mr. B's. Again, sticker, I put these on, they don't. I read the first chapter of this and really enjoyed the way it was written, and I'm really excited to read it. Now I believe it's a horror, but I will read the back for you because I don't really know. 10 years ago, Ricky, Gabe, Lewis and Cassidy shot some elk. It happens every year, it's been happening forever. It's the way it's always been, but this time it's different. Now, a decade later, these men are being stalked themselves, hunted, bound to their heritage, bound by society, trapped in the endless expanses of the landscape. These men and their children must face the ferocious spirit that is coming for them, one at a time. The Only Good Indians charge nature's revenge on a lost generation that maybe never had a chance. Cleaved to their heritage, these parents, husbands, sons and Indians, these men must fight their demon in the fringes of society that has no place for them. I think it's a horror. I don't really know a lot about it because it was recommended to me. I didn't choose it for myself, but I'm really excited to read this because I do love a good horror every now and then. Then I have a book that has been on my TBR every month for the past 3 months, and that is Hamlet by Maggie O'Farrell. I promise I'll read it eventually. So this follows, I've said it so many times, Shakespeare's wife grieving for the death of her son Hamlet. Book about grief, I guess. I promise I do really want to read this. It's just always gets pushed to the bottom because I think it's going to be really sad. If I'm being realistic, here is the stack of books that I will probably read in April. If I'm being unrealistic and I decide to read more than these ones, here's the second stack of books I'll read in April. It won't happen, but let's talk about them anyway. The first one I have here is Brooke Evans by Susan Glaspell. This is a Persephone book. Now, I had a subscription to Persephone for 6 months. This was one of the books that I received in that subscription. I've only read 2 of the books that I received in that subscription, and I would really like to try and read more of them because I have a lot of Persephones but I don't read them, which I feel like is the general theme of people who own Persephone books. I have no idea what this is about. I believe it's about a child called Brooke Evans, but I could be horribly wrong. Then I've got a one or the other kind of situation going on here, which is one of the other. I'll try and read one of these. It's not going to happen. So I have Mistborn Book 3, The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, or The Golden Fool by Robin Hobb, which I believe is the 2nd book in the Tawny Man. I want to read one of these. I'm not going to tell you about what either of them is about because we are too deep into both of these stories, but they're both chunky fantasies. I feel like the month that I will actually read one of these is going to be more in the summer because I love a chunky book in the summer. I will only read one of these the whole month. That's how it's actually going to work out, but I thought I would hold them up and show them off anyway. Then the last book that I have here, which I do think is one I potentially will read, we'll see what happens, is The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro. So this is, I bought this because I was excited. I had read Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro and I really enjoyed it, and when I saw that this book came out I thought I would get that and be a massive fan and read everything that he ever put out, and then I've never read this. With the release of Clara and the Sun, I've been eyeing that up on Waterstones and I've been like, oh, I'll get that and I'm sure I'll love it. But I have this book, so I should read this before I get Clara and the Sun. So that's why it's on my TBR. And then actually another book that I wanted to talk about for this month is Exciting Times by Nisha Dolan, I think is the author's name. I know that this is about a lady who's dating a man and then the man goes away and she's like, oh, maybe I'll date this lady instead. Something like that. It sounds a bit like, not plot-wise, but vibes-wise, books by Sally Rooney. Not a fan of Sally Rooney, so I'm not really excited to read it, but it's the next pick for the Sykes and Savage Book Club, and my plan is to read all of the books that they recommend and then watch their discussion on the books. The only problem that I have with that is that my initial idea was to read all of the books that I could get for free, and I can't seem to find Exciting Times for free, which means I'd have to pay for a book that I don't like the idea of reading. So we'll see where I end up with that one. That's my TBR. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you want to read any of these books. I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope you enjoyed my TBR, me ranting at you for a while. Goodbye.